Difficult. Women.
Hey. Hi. How are you? Welcome to our ASMR.
Oh my God, I love ASMR. Don't even get me started.
It's not ASMR today. We'll do that one later.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm Katie.
I'm Marie.
And this is a Difficult Women podcast.
We're in the band Reformed Whores.
Look
if
it
you
up.
don't know who we are, shame on you.
Yeah, where have you been?
Where have you been? Where have you been?
Where have I been?
Yeah.
You know, I was walking over here today and I almost got hit by a car.
No.
Which was legit terrifying. But it was because I saw the hottest dad like ever. And I couldn't, like, it was almost worth getting hit by a car. He was so hot.
Did he have the baby strapped to him?
No, they didn't even have a baby. The kid was like 6 or something.
Oh.
But he was just so cute with the kid
Yeah.
and so hot. And the kid was not hot, but the kid was hot. Everyone was hot.
Whoa, Katie, this isn't, no, it's not that kind of podcast.
Not that kind of podcast.
No, that's what makes me want to have kids. I'll see a hot dad in Brooklyn with like a 6-year-old and then like telling him what a caterpillar is. And I'm like, I do want kids.
Don't even want kids. I just want a hot dad.
Yeah.
No, I do want kids. Anyway.
Well, you know how you can make a hot dad?
You got to get him pregnant.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I think you need to go back to sex ed.
Oh, no.
You don't know how it works.
You're right. I have no idea. How does it work?
Well, you take this and you do this and
God, I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
What have you been up to?
Just living life, you know. I got a new bartending job on fucking Governor's Island, so I've been schlinging permanent vacations. That's the signature drink out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like death.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess that's the joke.
You're like,
I'm sorry. It took me a minute. I was real slow on that uptake. I was like, oh.
yep, we're serving death out there. Come visit me if you're in New York.
You want to
I'll
die a drinking death?
Yeah.
That's not
But
the
it's
worst way
fun.
to go.
I'm having, I thought about, I'd need money and I bartend, so might as well do that for the summer.
Yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah,
on a
before we
boat.
start touring and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a boat to work.
Right.
Who else does that?
Sailors,
Yeah, I'm just like a sailor.
captains.
I'm just like Baywatch people, lifeguards.
Lifeguards don't take boats.
No?
They sit on chairs.
That's true.
They sit on tall chairs and yell at people. That's what I think of. That's what a lifeguard does.
I think of Baywatch when they're always like,
Running.
they get on the ski-doos.
A lot of people drown on that show.
Yeah.
A lot of almost maybe not. Maybe they didn't actually drown. A lot of near drownings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, that's me. I'm very similar.
you're just like Pamela Anderson.
I'm just like her, slinging
God.
drinks. So yeah,
really
that's what
cool.
I'm doing.
It's a good summer activity.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to be outside all day long serving people? Anyway, this is a good time to tell people we're on Patreon.
We are on Patreon.
If you'd like to.
This is an excellent time. Oh my God, please help us. We have some wonderful patrons. We're really excited. We're doing some fun things with them. So
That's too.
Jump on the boat.
That's true. Yeah,
More
jump
boats.
on the boat. We
on
had
the
to
boat.
bring boats up again.
Yeah, in summer. That's cool.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's kind of neat and happening is we've been doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And we did a witch episode recently.
Right.
And we got some feedback.
Yeah, so because one question we both had was, where the fuck did they get the broom from?
Right.
And so Kaylin Scott wrote in pre-Christian Britain, there was a pagan fertility rite that involved women walking through the fields after the seeds were sown, riding brooms. The broomstick served as a ceremonial phallus.
I still don't get it, but that's great.
Well, okay.
So, like,
hold that thought then, because we got another email
Okay.
going further into that. Let me pull it up now. We don't have a producer, so we're just doing it ourselves. Molly said the besom, aka witch's broom, is used in protection and purification spells. You sweep out the negative energy. The besom was also used in fertility rituals to bless crops, like Kaylin was saying. Witches would ride it like hobby horse style around the field. It symbolized the union of the divine feminine and divine masculine.
Oh.
The staff represents the she says staff, and the bristles represent the female pubic hair.
Oh.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So she says, betcha never look at a broom the same way again.
No. I don't need even, you know what I realized? I don't need a boyfriend. I have a broom.
Shut up.
That's all I need.
No, honey, I think you're doing it wrong too.
Oh, shit.
No, we got to get you a better
shit.
vibrator.
Oh, man.
But that's crazy. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Brooms. And then also Molly did mention, because she said, by the way, the cauldron symbolizes the womb of the divine feminine.
Nice.
Cool.
You'd like to throw things in there, just like my womb.
Yeah, just throw stuff in there.
Throw stuff in there to keep it warm.
Yeah.
Gross. I'm a witch. Well, speaking of ancient fertility rituals,
yes,
we have one of our own that a lot of us have grown up with, and that is sex
education. That's
classes.
Right.
Look at that.
Look at that segue. Wow.
I'm good at this.
Again, no producer, just us. Us girls sitting in a hot box. The AC is off.
So
it's so hot.
So hot. So anyway, speaking
sex
of sex ed,
baby.
was that a thing that you had in school, or like how did that?
You know, I went to public school in Tennessee. And in my research last night, I was learning, and I didn't know this when I was younger, because who tells you this sort of thing? But there is a law that they can only teach abstinence-only sex education classes. Abstinence only until marriage sex education classes.
But that's a new thing since we were in school, though, no?
No, that's what they taught me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We were only taught abstinence. And then I was trying to think, I smoke a lot of marijuana. I don't remember, but I was trying to think, did I ever have like a real sex education class? And the only thing I could remember is in 6th grade, they split the boys and the girls up, which is also Tennessee state law. If you're going to be talking about this sort of stuff, you have to split the boys and girls up.
Interesting.
So the girls, we stayed in the cafeteria, 6th grade, so I was about 11 years old. And I think they hired outside teacher to come in and tell us how our bodies would be changing. So it wasn't really, she did not talk about sex education. She just talked more about puberty. And I do remember, I think I told you this before, that we got like a gift bag full of feminine products. And
yeah.
I ran home. I was so excited because I'd seen all the commercials about it. And during that time, I was really into like maybe the idea of being a surgeon when I grew up. And so I had gack, and I'd love to like hide things in gack and like cut open the gack and like take it out like a surgeon. So I was like, ooh, how can I experiment on these feminine products? So I went home, and I thought like I was being so secretive, but I went and got blue dye,
just
food
like
dye.
Commercials.
Yep, just like the commercials. Yep. And so I mixed together this potion, and then would see how much the pad would take. And like, it was taking like a bucket worth of water.
That's great.
And then I like threw them away, and then I never thought about it for years and years. And then, in college, I was home for Christmas once, and my mom, for some reason, brought up that time that I filled a bucket of blue water to fill the pads. And I was like, what? You knew that I was doing that? She's like, Marie, there was a trash can full of wet blue
maxi
pads. So that's, that really,
you taught yourself.
I taught myself. So I had that when I was younger, but then the next sex ed class wasn't until freshman orientation, when you did the banana, condom thing.
Right.
But that's the extent.
Yeah. It's funny. I like, my middle school time.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of sex education. They split us up too.
Well, DC is the laws there are very different than Tennessee.
Liberal. Yes, for sure. And they actually really want you to.
And you went to a private school too, which I wonder if they asked your parents' permission.
I don't think so. I think they just did it. I mean, I think that was just part of what they knew they were going to do.
Because I know we had a permission slip first. And then we had...
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like everyone was so hippy-dippy that they just didn't worry about it. So we had like all that regular stuff that you see on TV or think about when you think about sex ed. But my big weird thing was that my church decided to do a sex ed day.
No.
Yeah. I was like, please, mother, don't
How
make me go
old?
to this. I was like 13. It was my confirmation class. And there was it was me and like 8 boys.
No.
It was like a nightmare.
No.
It was a nightmare. I really didn't want to go. But this woman that taught the confirmation class, her name was Esther. And she had this, she had this husband named Alan.
You learned sex from Esther?
Oh, God, unfortunately. And like, she kept like splitting us up into boys and girls, but it was me. And then the boys. So I was just alone with Esther talking about dicks. Like, it was so weird. There was one thing we had to do. We had to blow up balloons and do like a diagram of the opposite sex's like internal organs,
right.
like sex organs.
Right.
So I'm like, she's like, blow up a balloon. And like, what's this going to be? I'm like, I guess it's the penis. I'm just like taping into this like poster board.
Surprised you didn't make it into a dog.
I mean, I know. I was like, please help me. So then like at the end, she was like, the boys and girls got back together and she's like, now somebody from the group, like explain what you just did with the balloons. And I'm like, I'm the only one here. Like, why do I have to do it? And the boys are laughing and I'm just miserable.
You had to say, I made a penis out of
finally,
this balloon?
I was just like, I'm not doing this. And she's like, fine, I'll do it. So Katie blew up this penis balloon and here it is. And these are the testicles. And I was like, this is just like, God, please help. But why? This is why I'm not religious anymore. But then,
Esther, you ruined it.
But the worst part, I'll never forget this. This is the worst. Don't ever do this if you teach like a sex ed class. Is that then imagine this like kind of bigger woman. That's totally fine and lovely. And then this like very skinny, nerdy man, they're coupled, they're husband and wife. And they decide at the end, they were like, now you can ask us this is my impression of Alan. Now you can ask us anything you want about sex. Any questions you have, we'll ask. And we're like, we don't want to ask you anything about your sex life.
Oh my God.
And so then he volunteered.
No.
He volunteered that he was like talking about condoms. Like, well, we don't really like to use condoms because after I come inside of Esther, I like to stay in there.
Ew.
And we're 13 and I'm just like, and we're in church. We were in church, you guys. And that's a true story. So that was my sex ed education. And I was so mad at my mother.
Oh my God.
I was like, why did you
Wait, did they
do
talk
this?
about birth control then?
I mean, they talked,
yeah,
and they said
was
that,
Esther on birth control when he came inside and let his penis just sit there for a while?
They may have been wanting to have kids. I don't know. It was like not the right thing to say to anybody for many reasons. And I think the impulse was okay, which was like, we want to try to be free about talking about sex, but it was not.
How long, Alan? How long do you like
days.
to just
He just likes to stay in there for days. It was gross. Anyway, so church was enlightening.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my church.
Did they talk about like wet dream? I do remember talking about wet dreams on the school bus.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing. I feel like I learned a lot of like, it wasn't that useful, the information, but like you'd learn things from friends' older brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, or word would get, I remember learning what the word fuck meant. When we were like, my friend was like, everybody meet me in the treehouse. And then, and it was like, my brother told me fuck means sex. And we were like, that doesn't make any sense. Sex you. Go sex yourself.
Go sex yourself.
Like it didn't make any sense.
Oh my God.
But
I remember, I learned so much on the bus. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Kelly Shaginaw, she taught me how to kiss. French kiss.
Did she kiss you on the bus?
No.
Oh.
She showed me. She said, you twirl your tongue inside the person's mouth and then blow. So we were practicing in the back of the bus going, poo. So
oh my God.
my first kiss.
That's real awkward.
It was like, what are you doing?
My first kiss was also I didn't never have like a little cute kids kiss or anything.
Oh, no?
I went
Like
straight to the like, I was 15 and I was like tongue first kiss. It was so much pressure. I was so stressed. I almost bit his tongue off. I was so nervous.
Who was it?
This, my
Or you don't
boyfriend
have to
in
say
10th
name.
grade.
Yeah.
His name is Steven.
Stevie. Join us on Patreon.
Please. I don't think he's listening. You know what? He ended up inventing this device that detected landmines.
What?
Yeah, he's like a genius. Little did I know.
I think my first kiss works at Costco. I was the band president, marching band president. I don't want to brag. Yeah. Now, my first French kiss was so romantic.
Oh.
My friends were all in on it too. I mean, not the French kiss
watching?
itself. Well, probably. I think it was like my friend Sarah had a end of the year party because school had just let out for summer, and I went to the party, and then they were like, "Marie, somebody wants you in the backyard." And I went back in the backyard, and there he had 24 roses. This guy, president of the marching band. I'd had a crush on him for 1 year. And he gave me the flowers, and then we laid down on the deck back there, and then we made out.
That's true.
And then
romance.
I left the next day for Habitat for Humanity in Destin, Florida. And I remember I called him on a payphone.
Oh, yeah.
And we had nothing to talk about.
Oh, of course.
But he was my boyfriend for 5 months until he got 24 roses for somebody else.
That was his thing. That's his move now.
Yeah.
We knew it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he broke up with me, though, because I wouldn't have sex with him.
Well, right. See,
'Cause I did
so
not-
did Stevie. So did little Stevie.
Oh, really?
He banged some other girl, and then he called me and said, I banged some other girl. We should break up. And I was like, oh, really? You think so?
God.
Yeah, he was the worst.
I was not sexually active in high school. Well, I didn't have penetration. I was known as the dry home queen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't have sex in high school either.
Yeah.
It wasn't until college.
Were your friends having sex in high school?
No, not my friends. No,
Because I think the rates are up now.
They might be.
I think I read that on average, people are losing their virginity at 17 nowadays.
Okay.
Which is still like, I was afraid it would be like 13,
Right.
but it's 17.
Well, it's interesting because like we were looking at some statistics and like it looked like some of the rates had been going down since the 90s. So some of like the STD type rates and like pregnancy, I think teen pregnancy rates have been going down a little bit. So that was a positive movement. Yeah, it's a good question though. Like if kids are actually who's having sex,
Right.
The other thing is like, what if everybody's waiting to 17 and then having sex? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's a different thing too than kids being like
But I feel like that's a good age.
11 or something.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's a
17
great
sounds
age.
like a good age. The one thing that was really beaten into me growing up was birth control. My mom caught me. It was senior skip day. That's what it was. So I officially had a note to skip school because I didn't skip school much, but I had a note to skip school. And of course, my boyfriend and I went to my house and started making out, and I didn't have a shirt on. When my mom came home for lunch, which I was like, what is she doing home? And so we ran to my room down the hall. I remember my boyfriend like tripped and fell. It was this huge bang. It was not smooth. But when we came out, like kind of dressed, my mom was like, get out of this house. Get out now. And we left. And then she called me later and was like, look, you're old enough to know better. If you are doing what I think you're doing, I'm taking you to get birth control tomorrow. And it honestly broke my heart because I was like, I'm not doing it. I swear I'm not doing it. I'm just letting him touch my boobies. I swear.
But I mean, you can't blame her.
No, not
She
at all.
definitely did the right thing.
No,
there
yeah.
To be like, okay,
Yeah,
we're gonna go.
but I will go. But so because of that, when I was in college and wanted to, start having sex, I was so responsible. I went and got, my first pap smear and then got on birth control and made the guy I was with wait like that for, 30 days or something.
Right.
To have,
Yeah.
sex. But my first time having sex was no condom because that was not beaten into me.
Oh, interesting.
Birth control was.
That's interesting.
So it should have been all the above.
Right, right. That's interesting. I mean, one of the things that was kind of beaten into me was like, you're gonna, there's so many diseases out there. There's so many diseases.
Right.
You're definitely gonna get riddled with diseases.
Right.
So like even with all the like they do the education, but that was the thing that scared the shit out of me. So I was always like, I just put the condom on like over my entire body. I was like, okay,
like, I don't know
I'm
how to
ready.
do-
I'm ready now.
God.
So terrifying.
Oh, so scary. Well, so the thing that I was really interested in on this topic is how are people handling sex education now? And because of technology, I was curious, how is tech helping younger people understand how sex works? And I came across this woman, Andrea Barica. She is the founder of a shame-free platform for pleasure education. So it's online. It's called O.school. And it's not an online university. That's what I was calling it last night to my roommate. But it's an incredible website that you can go to. And it's all these YouTube videos of how to pleasure yourself. It's a pleasure school.
Right.
It's not about this is the fallopian tubes, this is the testicles, because that's like what I learned in sex ed. This is about how to masturbate. This is about how to orgasm. This is how to eat a pussy. This is how, it's an actual, and they have doctors on there. They call them like, pleasure experts. And it totally takes sex education to a whole new place of like, sex is supposed to be pleasurable. Right?
Right.
So I was listening to this podcast with Andrea on it, and she was talking about how she's really trying to teach young people that to take out the word foreplay. Mm-hmm. Which I was like, what? Why? I mean, foreplay is foreplay, but it kind of alludes to like then you're waiting for the finale, which is the man to ejaculate.
Right.
So that conversation of like eliminating foreplay, it is, once you start sex, it is about your partner, pleasuring your partner, making sure everybody comes, and that it's not like racing to the finish line for the man to finish, because also that's so much pressure on the man.
Sure.
So like just changing this language of like not talking about, take out foreplay, just talk about how, to pleasure your partner.
Right. Is this directed to kids, or is this directed to just everybody? Or?
I mean, a child.
Yeah.
Children, I hope children aren't going to this, but I do think, I hope that high school students are going to this. It's sex ed videos on demand. And so it's not like there's a woman, first video comes up, penis parts and pleasure.
Right.
The second one is queer women and dating. So they also talk about dating. They talk about consent. They talk about how to stimulate a clitoris, eating pussy, approaching sex with a trans person.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really all across the board. And the thing that blew my mind is that I didn't know what a clitoris looked like. Like the real, the anatomy of a clitoris.
Yeah.
Like, I know where my clitoris is. I know what that looks like.
Right.
And I've seen other pictures of things. But in 2016, in France, I believe, they did MRIs and were able to, because of 3D printing, print out what it really looks like.
It's really big. It's inside you. It goes way bigger than you think. The other thing that's frustrating about that is that it took forever for them to figure it out.
Right.
They just didn't think it was, doctors were like, that's not an important thing to know. And
right.
It's like, oh, okay.
But that is probably, it is the only organ on a woman that is only used for pleasure.
It's the only organ on any human. That has no biological use.
Other than
pleasure.
Wow. See, that's
really
why
cool.
Isn't there...
Because women are magic.
Right. And why isn't there more research in that?
Because that's how patriarchy.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's really awesome. That actually really dovetails with like the things that I was finding.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that sort of I was curious about was like, first I started looking into like why abstinence only? Like, what is this coming from?
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing where, that just sex is like evil. There's this whole thing, and then that you shouldn't have sex before marriage. And there's all these things. But then I stumbled upon this article on Psychology Today. Mm-hmm. And this woman made this interesting argument. I don't know that I'm 100% on board with it, but she was saying that the right-wing sort of abstinence-only programs do not work. We know 100% that they 100% do not work. In fact, there was one thing where they were saying in some of these abstinence-only programs, they'll have these girls like sign these like, I'm waiting for my husband release or whatever.
Right.
And they said that when they did studies on it, about 12% of the girls actually followed through with it. It's very low, so it doesn't, and that's probably the same amount that would have done it anyway. You know what I mean? So the program doesn't work. But then she made an argument that, and we don't like to hear this as like liberals or whatever, but our current sort of standard for sex education also doesn't work very well. And if you look at the numbers, it helps. It lowers like I was saying earlier. I think that like the rates of STDs and pregnancies have like gone down a little bit in the last couple of years for sure. And like definitely having any sex education is better than none. But again, like the sex education that, like, at least that I had in my school and that are still kind of being taught is very much about preventing STDs, about preventing getting pregnant. Like you said, you were like, I knew to be on birth control. And I knew that, like, there was a lot of diseases out there.
Right.
And it's a lot of, like, scary stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's not focused on the stuff that you were just talking about online about how, like, wait a minute, but sex is about pleasure.
Right.
And sex is about, like, exploring your body and having these experiences. But she said that the money for sex education in schools, instead of going to teaching kids, should be programs for parents. And that the best way to get through to your kids, and statistically this is true, is when the parents have conversations with the kids about sex. And she's like, and they can even be kind of awkward and fumbly, but there's something about parents kind of talking to their kids about these things that kind of hits home, like, even like some moral stuff and, like, you know what I mean? And trying to take care of yourself. But you also have to educate the parents on because the parents don't know how sex works either. Nobody knows. We didn't even, you didn't even know what your clitoris looked like or whatever. So, like, I think that, like, there's something about that that's really, like, cool. That, like, get your parents, get the parents more involved in, like, communicating about sex. Like, why is it such a shameful, weird thing for everybody?
Why is it fear-based?
Yeah.
Why are we shamed?
And she said that the proof to her that, like, the more liberal sex ed wasn't working either was when her, like, 5th grader came home from school after sex ed and she's like, how'd it go? And he was like, well, I know. He's like, good. I'm not going to have sex for a really long time because the only sure way to, like, not get sick or pregnant is by abstinence only. And that was with the regular liberal thing. And she was like, that's not true. That's not true. Like, mutual masturbation is a way you can be sexual and not get pregnant or get sick. Sex toys are an option for people. When we think of these things as so adult, but, like, there actually could be wonderful options for younger people that are, like, not ready to, like, worry about the implications of, like, pregnancy and STDs and stuff like that. You can do lots of things. You know what I mean? And even, like, things like oral sex. That was one we all kind of knew about, but like that, at least with pregnancy. But then there's still STDs. So, like, but why not give people more, like, a more holistic view of this stuff, right? So then, guess who is killing it with the sex ed programs?
Who?
Sweden.
Oh, yes.
My favorite. And all these Western European countries that have, like, a lot less stigma attached to sex.
Right.
Just generally, like, in their culture. And they tend to, like, not make kids feel weird about having sex young, and that they know you're going to do it. Like, your body's changing. Right. You're getting horny and stuff. It's going to happen. So just destigmatize that entirely. And their sex programs, they were calling them, instead of calling them, like, sexual ed or whatever, they were calling it, like, sexuality education. And that's such a more interesting way to, because then it's more about, like, and they said they really put a lot of emphasis on the individual making choices that are right for themselves. And they do a lot of questions about, like, how do you feel about this stuff we're learning? And how do you feel about where are your boundaries in terms of, like, what you're ready for and what you're not? And then it just makes a much healthier environment when kids do get together, because then consent is, like, so clearly built into that in terms of, like, whoa, that's your boundary and this is your boundary. And, like, then you respect each other's boundaries. And also that, they said when they did studies on those kids, they naturally tended to, like, put off intercourse much later. They had fewer sexual partners. They had more, like, more meaningful relationships because everything was just sort of, like, more low key. Yeah. There wasn't so much pressure to just, do it and get it over with. And,
or don't do it.
Or don't do it.
Don't
and then
do it.
You kind of,
you
like,
want to do
rebel against that.
Well, I think it's so interesting that I was never taught consent.
I certainly wasn't.
That is the easiest. So I was reading, there's this 3rd grade teacher out in California, I think, that's just teaching. She has these awesome, like, flowcharts of, like, just talking about consent to 3rd graders. Right. And it simplifies it in, like, do you want a hug from Aunt Kathy? Right. No, Aunt Kathy smells like lasagna. This one kid was, it's like, okay, well, you know what? You have the right to say, no, I don't want to hug you right now. You smell like lasagna. Right. And it's like this simple thing of, like, you have a choice to say yes or no because it's your body. Right. And that's the simplest thing that you can be teaching at a very young age. Yeah. And there was actually something, and of course this is going to be all muddled because I didn't really, like, retain it very well, but there's something about, like, within the abstinence programs, abstinence only, one of the biggest dangers with those programs is that they don't
they kind of just eliminate consent as a concept at all.
Right, because you're married.
Right, and then you're allowed to rape your wife.
Right. So I think that is a law.
I think that's like
in a couple
totally
places.
allowed nowadays. So like, by the way, we don't think you should be able to rape your wife or your husband.
No.
So like that just becomes just simple things like that like are so fundamental to having a healthy sex life that's like pleasurable.
Yeah.
There's no pleasure. There's
pleasure.
No, you don't talk. And actually there was another thing where I guess California is trying to be a little bit more on board with this more.
California.
They're killing it.
They're killing it with the natural hair thing too recently.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Really, why did it take so long though?
I don't know.
But so they have this program, I guess, that the schools are trying to implement now that like includes LGBTQ conversations, like you were saying, which is like, why wouldn't we? It's
sex ed, when you think about it, it's heterosexual. It's penis 100%. Vagina sex.
Well, it's only sex for reproduction.
Right.
That's the only way they teach it
right.
is like for like making sure, when a man loves a woman, they have a baby. But like imagine being, a gay woman, young woman, and not relating to any of this, and then being like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
And so you have to figure it out on your own, which is part of, learning. But like, why not have resources to be like, this is safe, this is not. This.
Right.
Also, like, the thing is, like, I guess when a lot of the abstinence only stuff, people have a lot of misinformation. So there was things like some people thought that you couldn't get pregnant if you had sex standing up. Stuff like that. So it's like, of course, the birth rates, the teen pregnancy rates are going to go up because they get these really bad information.
Right.
So that that reminded me that one of the things that I don't think is so great about this parents being responsible for teaching the kids is I don't trust the parents to give them good information.
Good information. Yeah.
And I don't think parents know enough. And like, how do you enforce parents to like come to that class anyway? Even if you did give them,
right.
And how do you? And she kind of brushed that off in the article, sort of like, and if you want to teach abstinence only, like, fine, then do that. I'm like, but no, not fine, because then that kid doesn't get any information at all.
Right.
So I do think it's like, I think that it has to be both. I think you have to have like information in school that's like the correct information. Because you may not get it at home. But I think also as a parent, it is part of your responsibility as a parent to have that conversation with your kids and be fucking cool about it. Like, not cool, like, I'm a cool guy, but be cool that like your kids are going to have sex. Mm-hmm. They're going to have sex.
And don't you,
and why are you
rather to be the one to have the conversation with them?
Yeah. Why wouldn't
first?
You want to tell them how wonderful it can be?
Right.
And how the most important
Pleasurable.
thing is like that they are consenting to do it, and that if they, and that their partner is consenting to do it, and that it can be so freaking awesome, and that like that both people should be, the priority that is that both people are enjoying themselves, things like that. Like that's a really important conversation to have with your kids. And then
Certainly.
Also like, where's the dick? Right. I don't know. It's under there or whatever, things like that. That's under that.
Where's the dick?
That's under under that one pubic hair on that.
Well, I remember in college learning about the taint, and it's like,
oh God, I know. We talked about taints so much in college because I had never thought of it.
Yeah, I never knew about a taint. I never looked or found it until then. Yeah, and then now I can't stop.
No,
can't stop hunting for that taint.
Taint hunt.
Wait, did your mom talk to you about sex in high school?
She didn't. I never was like sat down with a conversation, but that ended up being okay because like I was sort of, I think because my school was talking about sex with us
you
so
just
much.
Came back with so many questions.
I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I remember like she was very good at like, she never made me feel like anything was like not okay, but I think she also really wasn't encouraging me to try this stuff out, especially like in third grade or whatever, So I remember once in like third grade being like, what's a blowjob, Mom? And she's like, oh God. She's like, well, it's, when I put it around it. And then God. I was like, whoa, like, I was like, have you ever done a blowjob? And then my poor mother, I remember she would always say when she didn't want to totally discourage something, she'd go, once, but I didn't like it.
She gave one blowjob.
She's just to kind of sort of confirm that like, yes, it happens, but don't do it.
You would have had siblings, but I spit them out.
Yeah. But also like, so that's
that doesn't how sex works.
Yeah.
Nope.
But also like when I asked her about, I was like, Mom, do you ever smoke pot? She was like, once, and I didn't like it. So that was sort of her way of dealing with it. But I thought that, to be honest with you, I kind of, as a kid, that was a pretty good answer because it was like, okay, she didn't like it, but she tried it. And that's like normal. It's a normal thing to do eventually when you find somebody to do that with.
Well, the thing that blows my mind is that I had 2 sisters, an older and a younger, and we never talked about sex. Like, still, Margot, my younger sister's married, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear it. Like, you know, she has twins now, and she popped those out, and I'm like, blah, I don't want to know anything about your vagina.
It came from the stork.
Yeah, but I mean, what an unfortunate missed opportunity. I could have, you know, girls could have had these conversations of
yeah,
like,
I'm sure y'all have the same questions.
Totally.
But again, like, it is kind of crazy that then you're like putting it all on your kids to kind of figure it out for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And that, like, I think that a school, why not give some information? You don't like do it every weekend, but like, come
drop off your recycling and swing by.
Like, no.
I can't believe they did it at church. We did not do that stuff at church.
Yeah. No, I don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
They were not equipped to teach us sex ed.
God.
It was very nice.
Alan and Esther, if you're listening.
God, please, I hope you're I know you are. Anyway.
What a fascinating thing. I mean, I want to have a kid now just to talk to them about sex ed.
I really want to talk to kids about sex now.
Yeah. Is that weird? Probably. I don't know.
Not a good idea. Yeah. But I think, with our jobs, I think we're not going to have any problems being open with our children about sexuality and stuff.
No, they're just going to Google our names and be like, "Duh, Mom.
Just listen to this song."
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we first started the band, I mean, I think our full, thesis of it was to talk about sexual freedom and equality.
And also like destigmatizing a lot of these things.
The double standards.
And the fact that we have a lot of people come up to us and say like, "Oh, you say the things that I think about." Look, I'm not saying you have to say them also.
We'll do it.
But like, we'll do it for you. But wouldn't it be great if we all could just say them and be like, not embarrassed about it?
Right.
We all have holes in our bodies, and some of us have things that stick out of our bodies.
Quick, how many holes do you have in your body?
Oh my God, like 40. I don't know. I have no idea. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, you
7.
count ears. Oh, geez. Tear ducts? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Write
sure.
us in.
7, 8,
Write
9.
us in. Difficult Women Podcast at Gmail. How many holes you got?
How many holes we got? Tell us how many holes we have. Gross.
Well, you know what time it is.
It's a
troll time. So I've been talking about O.School this whole time.
Right.
So I was just curious, do they get trolls? Because all their videos are on YouTube. So I found this one video, and the video, all it is a woman talking about her labia and to have a conversation with your partner, whether it be a man or a woman that you're with. Does this feel good? It's a 45-second video, and it seriously is only about when you're with your partner, touching them and saying, "Do you like this? Does this feel good? Is this pleasurable?" Right. So it's really just
saying that you can
consent,
giving her permission to to ask questions and be connected.
Awesome video.
Great.
Real simple. All right, let's go to the trolls.
Okay.
First off, let me show you. The first comment is from John Solo. Look how long this is.
Oh my God. It's like a novel.
It's a novel. I'm not going to read everything.
Yeah.
Because we don't have time for that. But you are a great example why millions of people are turning their back on modern feminism as an outdated, bigoted, misforming, misleading institution whose only concern is to keep lying to women to encapsulate their minds into a perpetual victim narrative. What? I feel bad for your boyfriend, and I hope he finally wakes up and leaves you, because I hope that after years of the emotional and mental abuse you clearly put him through, he doesn't succumb and become one part of the suicide statistic that you scoff at.
Isn't it amazing? Like, do you think this guy is like feeling vulnerable because he never asked if a woman ever was enjoying herself?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that so offensive to him? To be like, "Hey, can you like touch my labia?" Or, "Hey, are you enjoying if I touch your labia?" You're like, why is that?
Why does it?
That's not even feminism. That's just like human being nice as a human to somebody else.
And then this other guy wrote, "Just read one of your articles about men with beards. You come across as a big slut, just saying. You should have no credibility to speak to women and what they should want."
What's that guy's name?
Matt. He has no last name.
I don't know. Yeah. That actually, those make me really sad.
Yeah.
It makes me really sad because it feels like, I don't know. Like, do people really not care about? I mean, that's clearly coming from somewhere else. But like,
do you think they're scared or like fear or angry? I mean, obviously they're angry, but why are they taking it out on this woman who's a 45-second video on how to have a conversation with your partner if it's pleasurable or not?
Well, I don't know what these people's like religious backgrounds are, but when I was reading about like why the right wing and conservatives have really politicized sex so much is because like it's all about these like morals, and they have these like ideas that your morals are tied into like sexuality, and that like then there's this whole thing about how like there is this sense that there's like America was divinely touched by God and we're better. So when the morals start being corrupted in the United States, they feel like we're losing God's like grace kind of thing. It's this whole thing that
wow.
It was so much I didn't want to like
head hurt.
I know I didn't even want to get into all that necessarily. But my point being that like if there's any feelings of like shame around sex because your family was telling you that like God doesn't like it, or like it's going to hurt America if our morals are, whatever, then you start getting angry about it and you start blaming the women that are just trying to say like, hey, like we're also people. But women aren't supposed to be seen as like people.
Right.
They're supposed to be seen as like your sex object or the thing that has the babies,
Right.
So it like really, I think, pushes in on some people when like you just start saying like, it's okay. And to you too, like, hey, Matt and whatever your other name is, like, you're allowed to enjoy sex. Mm-hmm. And you're allowed to let your partner enjoy sex. Or not even let your partner is allowed to enjoy sex too. Mm-hmm. But that really threatens people, I think, a lot.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. It like, it threatens their whole world.
Right. And their worldview about like where everybody, what's safe,
Yeah. Huh.
And sex is not safe to them. So, we're basically saying like, no, it's okay. It's a lot.
A lot of them say, they keep saying, I feel sorry for your boyfriend. And
right. But that's the way that they also like, that's a way to take down a woman because you're assuming that the only thing she cares about is what her boyfriend thinks of her. She's also assuming that her boyfriend is a dick.
Right. Or that she has a boyfriend.
Or that she has a boyfriend. Yeah.
I don't know. But it's only men commenting on this.
Of course, because that's the only people that are threatened.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, that's not true though. I also read a thing about how a lot of they were shocked at how many women get on board with these conservative notions of like women need to be seen and not heard, and it's like brainwashing though.
Right.
And again, it's about fear, so that Anyway.
Well,
a lot to unpack.
Anyway, go to o.school, watch some videos.
Please learn, and please, especially if this scares you.
Yeah.
Go over there and see what you can learn. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. We did.
To be honest, it does make me a little uncomfortable to like watch strangers explain to me what my clitoris is. But thank God there's people out there, especially easily accessible like that.
Right. But why not?
But why not?
Let's get to a place where I hope our kids don't feel uncomfortable talking about it.
Right.
Why not?
It's cool.
Yeah.
Man, we live in a cool time. Yeah. I mean, it's a hellfire out there sometimes too, but
some good things happening. Mm-hmm. It's kind of neat. I don't know. I mean, I think there's even a lot they don't know.
Yeah.
What is squirting? Anyway, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that next week. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As we like to ask every week to just share our little podcast with a friend of yours.
Yeah, tell a friend. Spread it around.
Yeah. Do they know where the clitoris is? Do they know what it looks like?
Have them listen. I don't know. Are we good? We should be teaching kids.
We definitely should. Hire us in your school. We'll come do it. And I think playing us out today
is us.
Take it away.
Yeah.
Every morning at 10 in the morning, my cell phone rings. Every morning at 10 in the morning, my cell phone sings. Time to take my birth control. Time to take my birth control. 'Cause I love you, baby, but I don't want you, baby, so I'll take my birth control. I know you make a really great dad, but you're probably really, really mad if I didn't take my birth control. Yeah, didn't take my birth control. 'Cause you love my baby, but you don't want my baby, so I'll take my birth control. I know the pill makes me fat. With the baby, I'm twice the size of that. So I always take my birth control. Yeah, I always take my birth control. 'Cause I love my body, baby, it'd be bigger with the baby, so I always take my birth control.